Best exports that the United Kingdom had. How the Vampire actually came out as a secondary wooden aircraft, and you'll remember that the Mosquito fighter bomber was produced in the same way, so why reinvent the wheel? With their first jet, the Vampire, they did the same thing. The aircraft is flown today by Bernie Boyser, and we're giving you a full handling demonstration. Not aerobatics today, but just to show you them operated over at Tyabb in Western Australia. They were very highly successful machines, and we know a lot of pilots who have actually got their wings on that aircraft. The journey is flying here today, owned by GK
and that heli-tac operation. Ab initio, or the basic training aircraft for the Canadian Forces that was actually picked up by the Royal Air Force, and a lot of the University Air Squadrons used them. We also have the Ryan series of monoplanes, or sport monoplanes, very well liked by the movie stars of the period, very sleek. And if you see any of those 1930s and 1940s movies, particularly with the good-looking aviators in it, you probably saw a Ryan monoplane. They were very sleek for their time, and some of them were actually converted over to fighter aircraft. Now, the aircraft that will be demonstrated later on here, the Ryan STM, was actually part of the Netherlands Air Force operating up in Dutch East Indies.
And the Ryan, the PT-22, Peter, did you know that there were 1,023 were built in total of these aircraft, first flying in 1941?
Still going strong. We have the two Ryans now to show you the difference between the radial and the inline version. So what are those markings on the side of the 150 horsepower engine? And that engine is actually supercharged, which is big advance for its day, but can you imagine floats underneath it that were probably as big as the fuselage, the sort of drag that would take place? They also fitted some of these aircraft with a machine gun that used to fire through the propeller arc, and it was probably a little bit risky if the interrupter gear didn't work. You'd end up with a lot of whizzing noise and not much forward motion. Exactly. Now he is up at Jerilderie. Matter of fact, he told me that he had actually flown the real Southern Cross at one stage. He'd had to go to. So he was quite an experienced pilot, but he still said that these aircraft can be quite a handful on the ground, the STM. We had quite a few of these here because people may not know it, but when the Java Peninsula was overrun during the first stages of the Second World War, a lot of these aircraft were still in crates being delivered to the Dutch East Indies. Those aircraft were kept on board ship and they were sent to Australia. And I think there are about 34 of these aircraft actually came here.
Hi everyone, the little helicopter that you've just been seeing do the display to lovers in the air is a Robinson R22 Beta 2-seater helicopter. This little helicopter has superior performance, outstanding reliability and value for money, has made it one of the world's most successful 2-seater helicopters, and it's been in production now for probably a bit over 20 years. Jim's been flying the R22 for 17 years, so he's got quite a bit of time up in the R22, and this is the third machine that we've owned. Approximately over 3,000 R22 helicopters have been made now, so they're certainly showing what a great little helicopter they are. It's powered by a 360 Lycoming engine. It cruises at about 95 knots, which is about 166 kilometres an hour, and it burns about 38 litres per hour.
This is back to basics. The Tiger Moth, it was Australia's basic trainer, and we mentioned earlier on that it was pretty much the basic trainer of all of the British trained pilots for the Empire Air Training Scheme during the Second World War. And all of these aircraft saw service in the RAAF. They're also all local aircraft, aren't they?
Oh yes, yes. Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that with the Tiger Moth. Now, in Australia, we actually had about 1,100 Tiger Moths that were produced in Australia. and today we have 200 that are on the register, and we have more than any other country in the world. We are history every day in that we have the largest collection of vintage and warbird aeroplanes on any field in Australia.
And these Tigers fly quite regularly down here, don't they?
Oh yes, yes. Quite often on a Sunday, what you do, you come down and just fly around the cabbage patch, as we say. And these Tigers, it's very much like owning an old vintage car. You know, you've got to be forever tampering with them, you're polishing things, they spend more time being maintained in the hangar than they do in the air, but that's part of the love of owning an aircraft like this.
And of course there's all that time sitting around talking about it as well.
Oh, that's absolutely essential, and reading the magazines when you go to bed, and before that having watched a few videos, you know, it just never ends.
It sounds like aviation heaven.
Absolutely. Have strands of wool. And the lead aircraft has 16 strands, and the wingmen have 8 strands of wool. So the idea is that when the ropes break, they should remain attached to the lead aircraft, which they have in fact done.
Yes, you can see that quite clearly from here.
So that's the high-tech part of the flying act.
And do you do the knit one pearl too? You'll see hands holding up there to the right, up nice and high.
Too. Now the Yak 50, is that, how are we looking for performance as far as compared to the Cessna 152?
Okay, got a big jump in performance here. The Yak 50 was really the top of the aerobatic tree going back to the early 80s. The Russians used to compete with this aircraft all throughout the 70s. And I think... Fantastic. Okay, there goes Hans. First manoeuvre, he's pulled to the vertical and he's done a 3/4 roll there. Still going in the vertical, looking out the side of his wing. Stopped in the sky and yawing there and coming back down. That's a stall turn, looking for a 3/4 flick roll. And you can see now heading down to the south, to our left. Now, flick roll is a very rapid roll, and if you look close, you can see the difference between a normal roll, which you'll do now, full roll, and round it goes, back to where he started, and now he's going to pull over to a 45-degree downline. And there he is, 45 degrees, and another half roll, there it is, fantastic. Nice 45-degree line, rolls are very centred. We'll give him a 9.5 for that one. Pulling up now, this is manoeuvre number 3, half roll. There it goes, stopping beautifully on line. You can see he's exactly got his lines beautiful today. And manoeuvre number 4, watch him push down to the vertical. He has to be precisely vertical, and a 2 of 8. Here we go. 1, 2, and pulling now towards the crowd, and he'll pull straight up into a vertical again. We'll get a really good view of the underside of the aircraft, and he'll do another stall turn. So you remember, this is where he swaps in for end, hits the rudder now, and over she goes, slowly and gracefully. And now another 1/4 roll. Now watch this. This is ugly. This is a push out. This is about -6G. Very, all his blood rushing to his head. His eyeballs are popping out. 2 and 4. Now he's going to do a half loop. Not much really. Pulling down now. It's done a half roll. Another half loop towards the ground. Pulling about 7 to 8G. Feeling really heavy in the seat there. And now getting up to manoeuvre number 8. 2 and 4. 1, 2, so that's 2 1/4 rolls, and now pulling out inverted, and he'll fly away inverted. Now he's going to hit the end. The engine power's going to come off now. He's going to do an inverted spin. So here he's upside down. He's stalled the aircraft. It's now spinning, and he'll stop that spin precisely 1 1/4, pulling now towards this way. Exactly on line. Excellent precision aerobatics. Coming now, doing a 1/4 rolling turn. So you can see he's done a 90 degree. He's done a full roll during that turn. Now, we're about 2/3 of the way through the sequence. Hands will be feeling pretty tired now, all those G-forces. He's got to keep the precision going. Again, his vertical lines are precise. Up and pulling down half loop. This is a Humpty Bump. half a roll, and then pulling out. You can see that roll is exactly in the middle of the line, exactly where the judges wanted. That's a nice square loop. Okay, this is a loop and it's square. So, I'm sorry, I misread the card. Look, we've done a full snap roll on the 45 up. Now, he's just hovering there. He's going to push the aircraft right down, looking straight at the ground. As it comes up, he's going to do a 2 of 4. 1, 2, and pulling out now. Lots of energy, lots of speed, and coming up to his second last manoeuvre here. This is pull into the 45, nice 45-degree line. Pulls around half roll, precisely on line, no barreling, very, very nice. Pulling around now, 5/8 of a loop, and you'll be thinking, great, my last manoeuvre, 8-point roll. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Uh-oh, I think we lost one. I think the judge thought that was okay. I don't think that was zeroing that one. And that was Hans's competition sequence, his free sequence, and now that he's gone through all the hard stuff, I think he's going to just have a little bit of a play and just really show us what sort of airshow type aerobatics the Yak 50 can do.
Fans must be pretty good with the judges as far as maybe getting them some cool drinks when he's finished flying after sitting out here in the heat and watching him.
Oh, absolutely. Bribery is not unknown in aerobatic competitions. And this is Hans having a bit of a play after his hard-earned competition flight. A nice long chevac, just to let off steam and the yeehaw. And he will push out now and like to, on behalf of everyone, we can thank Hans Litchens, waving at the judges, saying thanks everyone, see you next year.
I think it's fair to say out of the 3,500 aircraft that are flying today, there's probably not one of them that is identical to any other. And these are very reliable, they're rugged sort of aircraft. They're all metal, a lot of rivets to put in. You become intimate with every rivet in the aircraft as you're building them. The construction is quite straightforward and they're not difficult skills to learn. And it's generally a 3 or 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 year construction project, depending on how much time you want to expend on it.
And how big a garage?
I've got a 3-car garage and we could assemble the complete aircraft in it. That's a bit unusual perhaps, but you can build it in a single-car garage with a bit of planning. Coming through in line astern now.
Right, so
a great noise of 4 Pratt & Whitney radials, 2,400 horsepower as they go by. Another form, a barnstormer's loop. A very interesting manoeuvre on its own. Putting 4 hardest together to do this manoeuvre is most difficult at the best of times. But these boys are highly trained and skilled pilots. A little bit about the Harvard. As I say, it's a World War II training aircraft, an intermediate trainer. Most airmen started World War II in the Tiger Moth. Then they transitioned to the much more difficult to fly Harvard with constant speed propeller, retractable undercarriage and hydraulic wing flaps. This is the aircraft, as I said, that all the World War II fighter pilots learnt their trade in, and they stepped out of these aircraft after 100 or so hours and stepped into the single-seat fighters, the Mustangs, Spitfires, Kitty Hawks and so on, and went to battle. Ladies and gentlemen, looking to your left, pushing down to 500 feet, Peter will be calling them 3, 2, 1, and pull up into the boxes. Beautifully executed, and that little tearing roar that you can hear right at the end there is the propeller tips becoming supersonic. So you've got a combination of propeller noise and engine noise. Whilst we're on the subjects of engines and propellers, these aircraft are powered by a Pratt & Whitney 9-cylinder radial engine, 600 horsepower, 1,340 cubic inches and approximately 60 years of age, as the aeroplanes are. These aeroplanes are maintained in pristine condition, mainly by the old aeroplane company who is resident on the field in the north-western corner of the airfield. And many people usually do ask us about maintenance on these aircraft as they continue to fly in their 65 to 70 odd year lifetime. And it's amazing that we can actually still get brand new parts in the grease paper, surplus from World War II. 200 knots into the climb, over the top. Beautifully executed, I'm sure you'll agree. And as they pass, it will be belly up to the crowd. Four-wheel detach. The aeroplane flown by Doug Hamilton, I should say, flying his Harvard from Wangaratta, Victoria, who will now do the solo aerobatic fill-in, whilst Peter, Guy and Stephen position themselves for the next manoeuvre, which is the ripple roll. Three Harvards of Peter, Guy and Stephen pulling up for the ripple roll. Nicely executed. The turbulence coming off the lead aircraft plays havoc with numbers 2 and 3. Set slightly out to the side and slip out of the slipstream. Now this is a manoeuvre that is not to be missed. The aircraft pass within approximately 10 to 15 feet of one another and will give a plan view of the two aircraft in the pass. Here they come, straight at the crowd display line, pulling up 250 metres out into the vertical. Cameras ready. Rolling out. Keep your eyes on the aircraft to the left flown by Stephen or the aircraft to the right flown by Guy. Pushing down to their 500, getting their 180 to 200 knots, then pulling up into the vertical once again and a roll out on the top. One will set up the miss. And just wait. Rolling out. Eyeballing each other as they push down to 500 feet and 200 knots. A fantastic manoeuvre. They will salute their crowd with a break and a pitch into the circuit. They will join downwind for a landing. When they land, they will taxi past the crowd, coming from left to right. I'm sure the boys will have their canopies slipped back. Peter Clements, number 1 in. Brilliant leadership by Peter and well executed once again today.
And we have to say, well followed by the others.
Certainly. These boys have got their all of their trust and their lives in Peter's hands. Got the initial box loops. The number 3 today, the 56 aeroplane, Stephen Death, the crop duster from Albury, in the Royal New Zealand Air Forces. 767 captain with Qantas, flying the former Royal Canadian Air Force aircraft in the camouflage. Aircraft in the north-western corner of the airfield.
Now, John, we are very fortunate, and thank you very much for displaying the Southern Nights with us here today. Now, this is from Pip up there. He said, fellas, I'm having a blast. I'm going to stay up here for a little while longer.
That's a fantastic demonstration. It's absolutely amazing that that aircraft can virtually turn itself inside out.
Do you know, Peter, there's only one better ride an aircraft that you can get on this airfield today?
Now that would be the
Mustang ride, the CAC Mustang ride.
I just went over and spoke to the very lovely lady over at the Aero Club, sitting at the front there all lonely by herself. Nobody's talking to her. For $20 you can get a ticket.
My word, and you can get in a multi-million-dollar Mustang here, flown by Guy Birkin. Very few people have been for a ride with Guy Birkin, the Mustang.
And if you think that Guy will be turning the Mustang in and out like Pip is at the moment with the Edge, definitely not. He would be here to show you a fantastic time and a flight in one of the world's greatest aircraft.
Flight of a lifetime. So ladies and gentlemen, a little bit about Pip Morman. Pip is based up in Shepparton in Victoria there. He does air displays and air shows all over the country, and as you can see, it is truly remarkable what he's able to put on in that aircraft. You say to Pip, you say, Pip, I see what you do, but what do you do for fun?
That's a great paint scheme on that aeroplane. It changes colour every time you do it.
Of course, we're very lucky, as Pip always says, Rudy's Aero Engines that made his engine there on the Edge 540, and also QBE Aviation, a very keen supporter of Pip Morman.
Yes, thanks for having me back. I'd just like to tell you a little bit about both of these aeroplanes. As Lars was saying, they are replica aeroplanes. It's the silver one is a replica of a P-51, and the camouflage one is a replica of a Spitfire. Jim has built both these aeroplanes. It's certainly been a labour of love. He started building the Mustang back in 1995, 4.5 years of full-time building. The Spitfire was a little bit more user-friendly than the Mustang, and that only took him 10 months. It's an all-aluminium kit, it's an Australian kit, and virtually sort of riveted together, but they've been quite a popular little kit here in Australia. There's probably about 10 kits being sold in Australia, and so we'll probably see a few more of these flying. As you can hear, the engine in the little Spitfire as it passes is a 6-cylinder Jabiru.
And I believe Jenny, that's an Australian-built engine as well.
Being an experimental aircraft, this category only came into existence in 1995, and it's something that allows people like Jim that want to sort of build something a little bit different and use a premium ship for their engines. Also building another of these FVW Mustangs at home in the shed, so you may be looking for a pilot at some stage to be able to take the two of them up for some sort of photo shoot, but that's a little way off yet.